Welcome to A Friend of Mine, a series of conversations with some incredible and inspiring women in business from regional and rural Australia. I'm Kimberley Furness, your host and the founder and editor of Oak Magazine, and I cannot wait to introduce you to some amazing female entrepreneurs who will share with you their experience and knowledge of what it takes to start, grow and scale a successful business. So let me introduce you to a friend of mine. Cas Watene left her 9-to-5 job at 20 when she became too sick from her first pregnancy to keep working. She went on to devote her early 20s to raising 4 kids. She started in network marketing in 2013, quickly rising to top salesperson in Australia and earning incentive trips and commissions. In 2018, she stumbled into cake decorating with no skills or qualifications, but has gone on to build a reputable business locally in Emerald, Queensland, and an international following with more than 240,000 followers on Instagram. Cas also recently reached her goal of earning enough so her husband could leave his job in the mines. Cas shares with us her business journey, which includes bringing her husband into the business and creating passive income through stencils and online courses. She also talks very honestly about her self-limiting beliefs like imposter syndrome, fear of failure, trying to be a perfectionist, and feeling like a fraud because she was self-taught. Meet my friend Cas from Cas's Cakery. Hello, Cas, and welcome to our special 5-part series in celebration of International Women's Day.
Hello, I am so happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to talk to you again. I had the privilege of that when we were doing our little micro wedding magazine called More Than Love, which was last year. And I suppose just some background for everyone. I love a businesswoman, Linda from Wattle & Co. She makes the most gorgeous earrings. There's a pair that I wear and I just get compliments on them all the time. And I knew that she'd done a couple of, sets for weddings. And I thought, it'd be really nice to, showcase those, and got in touch with Linda. She obviously put me in touch with you, and you just said, like, here's the whole gallery, find them yourself sort of thing. And I'm like, oh my God, like we need, and at that point we were literally like content was done. It was literally layout stage and just finding, the odd photo for this one page of, products that we love. And I think I got in touch with the graphic designer and said, hey, can I have an extra, 4 pages or whatever it was? Got back to you and said, hey, do you mind if we put your wedding in the magazine? And there we are, more than just the earrings.
Yeah. Well, I reached out to her because when I decided, it was kind of random, but my friend that I like kind of organize it with, I was like, I want to renew my vows and I want to do it like how Cassie is now, because we got married obviously at 19 and we had zero money and like I had zero idea what I really wanted and couldn't really afford what I wanted. And when I was like, I want a really beautiful pair of earrings that go with this boho sort of theme, and because I've gotten quite a few pairs off Linda, I just reached out to her and I was like, can you make me something amazing for my wedding? And that's what she created.
Oh, they were just divine. She is such a talented earring maker. And as I said, like I have a pair and complimented on them all the time. We bought some wholesale to sell through Oak, and it was so hard. I actually think I kept about 3 or 4 pairs.
It's easy to do though because they're all so beautiful.
I know. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to take one and that's it. And I'll sell the rest. I've got to make my, this has got to be a profitable business, Kimberley. Yeah, it's too easy to shop when you have it in your office. It's like, oh, going out, need another pair of earrings. But all that aside, stick with us because we are here to talk about 9 to 5 and obviously, what that journey's looked like for you. So I think like a lot of people, Cas, when we have kids, like we get pregnant and we go on to have our first, it's probably the first time that we actually realize that the 9 to 5 isn't suited to mum, kid, work-life balance, is it?
No. Well, mine actually started when I was pregnant because I was so sick.
Oh.
I had to stop before I even had children because I was so sick. I was was literally working at Woolworths on the checkouts when I was pregnant with my first at 20. And I was running off the register to vomit because I was so sick. And I was like, oh, I can't keep doing this, because I'd literally have to just run off midway through serving someone. And so I was like, my husband was like, well, you just, so I held out as long as I could, and I got to 20 weeks, and then I just couldn't. And so then I resigned, and I spent the rest of my pregnancy on the couch feeling sorry for myself.
Oh my gosh. It's I think we all have those embarrassing moments where we have spewed somewhere in public. There's nothing you can do. Like, when it's
Where
coming,
is it?
it's coming. And obviously, there's obviously women who, have stupid morning sickness, like why it's even called that. Have all day and all pregnancy sickness.
Yes.
Like, I just my sister-in-law is one of them, and I just, to watch, you just can't function really. It just changes everything. So, obviously you left your 9 to 5 when you were 20, when you were pregnant. And then you've sort of mentioned that you've devoted then, the next few years, to your baby. So how many kids do you have?
I have 4.
Have 4. It's a good number. I have 4.
It is a good number. And I had all 4 by the time I was 27. So basically and I finished breastfeeding at 29. So from 20 to 29, my life was wholly and solely dedicated to pregnancy, morning sickness, breastfeeding, nappies, toilet training. Yeah, it was a big chunk.
Yeah, my gosh, those great things. So how did you then get back into, I suppose, work mode? Like, there's obviously got to come a point where you're like, oh, and even for your own sanity, isn't it?
Yeah,
to go back into the workplace.
So from then, so I have not worked a 9 to 5 job since I left when I was pregnant. So I got into network marketing through a new company that was actually launching in Australia when my third was like, I think she was like 4 months old. And it was like, you buy a starter kit, and it was Party Plan. It was this new company launching, and they had electric candles, basically, like warmers with wax. And I think my sister-in-law was like, oh, I think you'd be really good at this. And I think it was by this stage that I was like really looking for something that was just for me, like something that gave me purpose, that like was like rewarding. It's not that motherhood isn't rewarding, it is, but it's not like a very thankful job. It's not like my 4 and 2 and baby were like, oh, Mum, you're the best mum in the world, you're doing such a good job. So I think I was like seeking for some sort of approval and like praise from like an outside source. So when I started, so I bought the starter kit. My husband was like, oh, if all else fails and you pay the starter kit off, you've not lost anything, you're not gained anything, sort of thing, like give it a go. And so I bought the starter kit, and I was top salesperson within the second month of Australia. So it actually turned out really well.
Really well. Now, network marketing, I'm like, sometimes that doesn't have a great feel around it, but at the end of the day, you're working, you're still making sales, and there's probably some great lessons that you've learnt in that.
Huge.
Yeah, can you share some of those with us? Like, what were the big things that you've been able to take away from that experience?
The big thing was like believing in myself and like working towards something. So when I first joined, they announced an incentive trip for the Australian consultants, and it was an all expenses paid trip to Los Angeles and St. Louis in America. And I said to Jared, I want to earn that incentive trip. And he was like, oh, babe, like you've only just signed up. Like there's only 3 months to earn it. Like I just don't know, like sort of thing. And I was like, oh, I'll show you, mate. So I promoted to director within a month. I like continued with top sales. I think I held top sales for Australia for the whole first year of being part of it. And I earned that incentive trip, and I earned it for 2 people. So I took him because I was like, oh, I will show you what I can do when I put my mind to it. And so I was just doing like parties all weekend, and I'd take my third child at the time, like was my baby. She'd come to all my parties with me. I'd do like 3 on a weekend. Sometimes I'd do 3 on a Saturday. I'd have a morning, middle, one in the evening, and I'd take them and I'd get these women to like smell all these wax testers and choose out their warmers. And like, I think it was like a turning point for me, because I was like, oh, when I put my mind to something, I can achieve it. And so that self-belief was like the stepping stone for what I have achieved now, I guess, with my own business. So it was, and I think it was also the versatility of working for myself. Even though I was working within the rules of a big company, because I was an independent consultant for them, I like had a lot of freedom with that. And I realized I kind of thrived in that environment, because I don't really like people telling me what to do, I realized.
And that's okay. I think there's so many of us that don't like that. A specific personality type, I think it is, Cass.
I think so. That's me.
Oh, I want to just pause here and ask, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a mum. That's all I wanted.
Oh,
Like
my gosh.
when we got married at 19, I was like, I just want to have a baby. And Jared was like, oh, let's wait till we're 25. And we had 3 by the time we were 25. So I think you can see who kind of like won out there.
Yeah.
But all I dreamed of was being a mother. And when I became a mother, it was what I wanted, and I did feel fulfilled. But I think after like having 3 children in 3 years, and I think also like being a single income family with little children and getting married so young, and we had a mortgage, I really wanted to help financially so that it wasn't all on Jared's shoulders, because he was like working in the mines, and he's worked in the mines the whole time we've had children. And it's really long hours and it's underground, and they do get paid well, yes, but I wouldn't want to be underground for 12 hours of a day or a night doing that sort of physical work in like muddy, gross environments. So part of it also, and when I first signed up with that company, I was, one of the goals I set was that one day I wanted to make enough that Jared didn't have to work in the mines.
Yeah. Yep. What a great goal. And we might get to that in a minute. So your kids, do they have the best birthday cakes ever?
Yes.
Yeah. You got into cake decorating. Like, is that a hidden talent or what? Because I'm a bucket of ice cream with lollies and a couple of candles, or a good old supermarket mud cake, or a choc ripple. I just don't have that creative gene that should have got passed down. It's like skip 2 generations now. I just can't believe it. So where did it come from? How did you know you had that?
Well, I've always been creative. In high school, I excelled in art because I felt like it had so much freedom and creativity in it. And it wasn't like you could express yourself in the medium that you wanted, and people didn't tell you how you could or couldn't draw something, or how you could or couldn't paint, which we've already established I don't like being told what to do. So it was something that I could do in the way that I wanted to do and express myself in the way that I wanted. So I loved art. It was my favorite subject all throughout high school. And when I had children, I probably lost that creative side of me. So when I started cake decorating, I was literally doing like Woolworths mud cake hacks for my own kids after I'd gotten past the point of being morning sickness for like 9 years or whatever, and I could actually dedicate time to trying to make them something. And if you look at my first cakes, they're like awful. They're so bad. But I was so proud of them at the time, and the kids loved them. And that's kind of how it established. And then I had some people on Facebook be like, oh, can you make my kid a birthday cake? And I was like, yeah, if you cover the costs of it, yeah, I'll give it a go. Like, they're not great, but yeah, sure. And then I remember the very first one I did for somebody, and I had zero idea how much my kids' ones cost because I just bought the ingredients, didn't think of it. And when I went to make this cake for someone, and I said like $50, and it cost me like $65, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to this than I realized.
And all your time as well, obviously,
yes,
into that. Yeah, absolutely. My gosh. So Facebook was probably the starter for you then in that cake decorating space. And I'm thinking back, if this was 2018, I mean, Insta wasn't really a big thing at that stage, was it? So
No, not to like
no.
the degree it is now.
Now, yeah. So, like, how have you built up your business called Cas's Cakery? Like, when was that point, that tipping point? It's like, wow, I actually have a business here.
So I actually like registered as a business and set up like a home-based registered kitchen with my local council in April 2019. So I'm nearly coming up to 4 years of being an actual business. And when and I was really nervous about it, but I actually got reported to council by someone. I have no idea who. Somebody reported me to council because I was making cakes for friends and family and I wasn't a registered kitchen. And the council knocked on my door and they were like, oh, we strongly encourage you to get registered. And I was like, but my cakes aren't very good. And they're like, oh, well, we think they are. And so that was like this moment, and it was like this moment of, do I just call it a day and give up like what's starting? And I'd also paid $1,500 to do a certificate 3 in fitness, certificate 3 and 4 in fitness. So it was around the same time because I was really into my fitness then. And then Jared was like, well, let's just forget the $1,500 because like you have zero ambition to chase that anymore. And he was like, let's just try and make back the money in the cakes. So I like paid for my fees and registrations with the local council and just took a leap of faith that it was going to work itself out. And I've literally been fully booked every weekend since I like announced my opening of my actual business.
Oh, wow. How many people, though, would realize that you need those certificates and to register with their local council and that?
Well,
Like,
I
that's what I
don't.
wonder.
Yeah, well, because I think a lot of people think they're a hobbyist and they don't see themselves as a business, and that's something that I have found a lot of self-taught people in lots of different industries kind of talk down their skill level because they're like, oh, it's just a hobby, it's just on the side, rather than kind of fully own. You know what? No, it's a business. So once I established it as a business, I treated it as a business. Took a little while for my family to kind of treat it as a business as well, because I think because I was at home and I was in the kitchen, Jared didn't really treat it as much of a business, and he'll say that himself too. Like he had zero idea it would turn into what it has. It wasn't until I think my second year of doing it, I paid for a trip for us. Like I saved up and paid for a trip for us to go to the Maldives for a wedding anniversary present. And that's when he was like, oh, actually, this is a business. Like she paid for all of that. And
Good
so
on
that was
you.
like the moment for him. And then so he treated it as a business as well. And then he'd say to the kids, Mum's working. Like just because she's in the
Mm,
kitchen doesn't mean
yeah.
she's here, she's working. Like let her work sort of thing. And so then I think that was kind of like the turning point for me taking it seriously as well.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So, from that point, your Instagram has obviously just exploded to a following of, 240K plus. Can you remember the moment when you've opened up Insta and you've looked at that following going, oh my God, like,
Well,
what is happening here?
I think when it got to 100,000, I was like, bloody hell, like that's a lot of people. I think even when I got like to 15,000, I was like, oh, that's the size of Emerald. And then I remember we went to Mackay once or something and we looked up the population. I was like, that's like the whole of Mackay following. So I think I had 1,100 followers in November 2019. And then, yeah, I've gone up to 200 and I've just over 240,000 in that time frame.
Yep. What is it? I mean, I think just cakes in general attract great audience and great engagement, but I think there's a little bit more to it of what you do personally. What do you think it is? What do you think you bring different to your Insta community?
I apologize if I get emotional, but
Oh,
I think, oh, I will get emotional. Oh, I'm gonna cry.
oh
It's.
no.
I think a lot of women can relate and see themselves in me because I didn't have any qualifications. I finished high school in grade 10. I got married young. I was a mum, and I think other women can be like, oh, like you don't have to be qualified at something. You can jump in and go put it all in and like reach for your dreams, and it is achievable. And I think I've had so many messages from people that said, because of you I started a business, because of you I went from a hobbyist and I now have an actual business, and I've left my job that I didn't like to now pursue cakes. And I think because I've shared a lot of the highs and the lows and my own journey of self-discovery and healing through cakes, because creativity, I think, encourages healing because it kind of goes hand in hand. And to me, the more cakes I did, the more those parts inside of me from like childhood and lots of different things throughout my life like slowly healed. And I've found a lot of people that message me can relate to me because I've shared all of the stuff that goes along with the cakes. It's not like I just share the cakes. And they've watched me grow both physically and emotionally, and also my cakes, my skill level from where I started to where I am now. So I think and I do try to be very authentic in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and that sort of thing. And I feel like a lot of women can relate to that part of it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it sure does. And I think I can't make a cake for the life of me, but I follow you because, yeah, as you said, you show up online. It's really authentic, and I think people can relate whether they want to be a cake baker or not. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's something in your story. So, just before, like you mentioned that there had been some hurdles that you've had to work through. Did you want to take us through some of those?
Yeah, I think the hardest ones is just like self-limiting beliefs. And it wasn't until I started to question them, like, why do I believe this? Why do I think this about myself? Where did this even come from? Because I think so many people live their whole lives governed by self limiting beliefs. And it's not until you actually question why you think or behave in certain ways that you can kind of unpack what it is and like move through it. So I had a lot of like just fear of failure, like trying to be a perfectionist, imposter syndrome, feeling like I was a fraud in my, I guess, my chosen career because I was self taught and I did it my way, and maybe that was the wrong way. Um, and then even like when I did start to become successful, it was like the self-limiting belief that I didn't deserve to be successful, that I wasn't worthy of it, sort of thing. So there's been that makes me emotional too. So there's been like a lot of these different things that and I tried to share my journey through that and the way that I started to unpack that. Um, and a lot of other people resonate with that because I don't know why we do this to ourselves. And like a lot of it just happens in childhood and we don't even realize. It could have been just one person says one thing to you and you just develop this belief about yourself, and you live by that belief until one day you're like, oh, I'm sick of feeling like this or doing this. Like I want to do it differently. This no longer like is serving me in any way, shape, or form. So I had to overcome a lot of that because you cannot really like succeed and thrive at something when you're governed by your like limits, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a handbrake on just all the
Yeah.
time, and yeah.
Or it makes it really hard to succeed because you have the success, but when you don't feel worthy of it, you don't really enjoy it. You just kind of like, oh, I could have done better. I
Mm,
had a lot of that. I had a lot of that like perfectionism in me. Oh, I could have done that better. Should have been more successful rather than just celebrating my wins as I had them. But
yeah.
so that's something that I've worked a lot on, is like celebrating all of my wins, no matter how big or small, and like just embracing like all of it, the good and the bad and the ugly.
Yeah, yeah. Have you is there any books that you've read or any courses you've gone
Yes.
to or like a coach or anything? Like,
So my sister-in-law actually started a life coaching business, and she used me as one of her pro bonos. So I've really enjoyed doing that with her. But I also, there's a book called, and I listened to it as an audio book. There's an audio book called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. It's amazing because it literally questions all of your beliefs and like your relationships with people and all of that sort of thing. And that was like really eye opening. I also like listen to a lot of YouTube videos. I really love Joe Dispenza. He is a neuroscience and he actually talks about the habits that we have and how we can change them. And then I kind of started embracing a bit of the law of attraction of like we create our future and like rather than like leaving everything up to chance and oh yeah bad stuff's going to happen rah, rah, it's more like creating the future that you want and knowing that you have I guess power within to create the future that you want. So I've done a lot of work on that. I see kinesiologist every week and like I like which is like releasing like past traumas and trapped emotions and that sort of thing. And I really love doing that. And I even started taking my kids because I'm like, no doubt I'm probably doing some damage along the way with them, with things I say to them at different times. So I'm like, if I can help erase some of that damage before they get to adulthood, surely it can only benefit them.
I think it's just making them more open to the services that are available. Like it's so hard for us, and more so for males too, to go and talk to someone, a psychologist. And I think if your kids are, exposed to that really early and it's a natural part of the conversation, it's a normal, I'm just doing like air quotes then, a normal thing for you to do. I think yeah, it might be easier for them when they're adults and my gosh, just the benefits that come off that is just for everyone, isn't it? So good on you for doing that. It's so good. Do you struggle with bookkeeping or wonder how your business is doing financially? Yep, me too. Meet my finance friend and sponsor of this episode, Sarah Henney from Henney CFO. Sarah is based in Longreach, rural Queensland, and is empowering women to make confident financial decisions with her new flagship program, Bookkeeping for Profit. This unique online bookkeeping and business course provides you with the information, systems, and support you need to set up your own business, understand GST, read a P&L, manage cash flow, all of it and more. Work through the online training at your own pace with weekly support and access to a community of like-minded businesswomen from rural and regional areas who, like you, want to change the game, have a crack and be confident in their bookkeeping because you've got to know your business to grow your business. If you want to know more about the program or register for a free masterclass and work with Sarah, head to the show notes or find Sarah on Instagram at HennyCFO. Now back to the episode. Highs. We've talked a lot of lows and I feel really bad for making you so emotional. That was
No,
not the
no, because I think without them, you don't fully embrace the highs. Like I see it as contrast.
I
The
like it.
good with the
Yeah.
bad. So and the contrast shows you what you don't want. So then you know what you want, and then you want what you want more of the time. So I don't please don't feel bad because honestly, without all of that stuff, I wouldn't know about the contrast and how good it feels to feel good.
Oh, that's good. So let's talk highs then, please. What have been some highs for you?
Okay, some of the highs. So I was awarded Rising Star of Australia last year from at the International Cake Show. So that was like amazing to be like recognised among my peers, I guess. And Rising Star is awarded to people that have been in the industry less than 5 years. Um, and so yeah, that was really I was really excited to earn that. And I got like a special trophy, and we had like a gala dinner, and I got to dress up and stuff. And I think also um, I've achieved the goal that I set out to do, which was for Jared to finish up in the mine. So when we moved to Meringan West at the end of the year, we're like leaving Emerald and going down to the Toowoomba region, building our dream house with a cake studio, and Jared will be coming on board to work the business full time with me. So that is literally the highest of any high you could ever have.
Oh, absolutely. What's his role going to be, Cass?
Well,
Tell
so
me
he's
about
going to
it.
take over my website,
Oh,
and
good. Yeah.
we created a template. Well, we have a template that I use for like letters and number cakes, and we're actually going to take over production of our template. So he's going to be fully and wholly in charge of that. And he's going to do all of the online orders, because when we go down there and we have more room, we're going to expand our online range so that I can stock more of my favorite products, so that obviously people that see my videos on Instagram can then just shop from my website and get like all of those things that they want. And I'm more excited for like the family life we're going to be able to have without him working those really long hours. Like, that's what I'm most excited for. And that's, I guess, what I've been working towards all of this time to get to, so that he can just be at home and have dinner with us every night and, do the school drop offs and pickups and all those sort of things. So that's what I'm most excited for. And just like not have to do night shift anymore, like not have to go to bed by myself. So that's honestly the highest thing above anything else, is that we'll be able to like just work the business together as a family run business completely.
How exciting. That's
Yeah.
so exciting for you. Now, I know you have templates. You just touched on that. Do you
Hmm.
want to take us through that part of the business? Like, I mean, that strategic? Like, okay, I make cakes. I can only make so many cakes. That's the other thing, in so many hours.
Yeah.
Like, are the templates for you like a passive income at all?
Yep.
Yeah.
They are. And they're also like, I was using paper. Like, I was just printing off numbers and letters and using paper, and it was tacky. It was like, get all mushy on the cake, and you couldn't get a really clean line. So now we've got like a reusable acrylic. So like once you buy your template set, you've got them to use forever. Just wash them in warm soapy water and store them for later. And letter and number cakes are like getting more and more popular with like the caking industry. So um, yeah, it has become a passive income. And then obviously I released, oh, not obviously, but I did release my recipes and like a buttercream course last July, and that has become an amazing passive income online, because it's online, it can be bought worldwide, and I have quite a large international following. So that's kind of opened up a completely different avenue for
It
me.
must. Yeah, absolutely. My gosh. You just spoke about online courses.
Mhm.
So how did you know to do all that? Like, I mean, to create an online course isn't straightforward.
So
You've got to pick your platform and you've got to
yeah,
video it. And I mean, then it depends on what level of professionalism you're going to do that with. And, what does your online course look like?
so I went with a professional film crew, and I flew down to Brisbane, and um, I am Loyal Bakeware is like a company I'm highly like involved with, and they have like what they call their test kitchen, which they've used for filming that before. So they kindly let me use their kitchen to film in, and I got a professional film crew in. And then I enlisted a website designer, and I told her exactly what I wanted, what I needed. I needed to be functional for people to be able to buy these courses and be able to rewatch them as many times as they wanted. So she built the website and incorporated this video platform into it, and it's all just subscription based. So like I obviously pay a subscription to hold this video platform. It's called Podia. So yeah, people can then log into an account and they have access to their videos, like to keep just rewatching as many times as they like. And I wanted it to be done right the first time. Like I wanted it to come across professional. And I think that was another thing with like that whole imposter syndrome. I was like, oh, I'm a fraud, so I need this to be really good. And it did. It turned out exactly how I wanted, and the response I had to it was like amazing. Like within the first 24 hours of releasing it, it was phenomenal. And people had been asking me for my recipes for like a good year, or year and a half or so prior to me releasing them. So I knew I had the platform ready to go, I guess. Like I think I had over 100,000 followers when I did release it. So I knew that I had a good platform to release it on. And I think having that network sales background, I knew how to market, if that makes sense. So as a consultant for a company, you are your own brand, and that's exactly what Cakery is. I am my own brand. My brand is like my business is me, if that makes sense. So yeah, I made, like, I obviously promoted it in the lead up to it, and the filming was amazing because it was all done professionally, and I was like really happy to deliver like a beautifully edited, professional, but still authentic to who I am
Yeah.
video.
Yeah. And obviously worth the investment because, I mean, obviously a professional film crew, probably not the cheapest thing to go around. But as you said, if it looks good and then you can get those testimonials, share them out, it creates that beautiful circle of marketing. So it was Podia, because I know that when people are looking for those online courses, I mean, most people know Kajabi and Teachable. They're the big popular ones. But yeah, Podia is
Well,
another
and
one
Podia
to.
is great because you can
Mm,
actually host an online community within it as well. So I have a subscription based group, and I can post in there, and like, so the people that join my subscription group log in and they've just got access to a library full of like real time video tutorials that I record and post in there. And it also emails them every time you post, so they'll get like an update that I've added a new video, or like, and I set up with my subscription group, I set up with some of my preferred suppliers like exclusive discount codes for them, and we do like special offers every now and then, so like I can jump in and be like, oh, there's a special offer with this company, this is the code at checkout for 24 hours or whatever. So Pody was great because it kind of like had all of the things that I wanted within the one platform, um, which some of the others don't offer.
mm. So just with that, the discount codes,
Hmm.
Cass, like how do they work? Do you get a kickback off those?
Yeah, so most of the time, and you'll see like a lot of influencers on Instagram have discount codes with companies, and it depends entirely on what they're doing. Like, some people will just get a discount code and they'll get free product in return. But for me, Instagram, when my Instagram started to grow, I was like, I treated it as a business. So any companies that I promote on Instagram are all commission affiliates, because I feel like I bring so much value to the products that I love and use. And all of the companies that I'm affiliated with are more than happy to pay me that commission because they can see like the amount of value that I bring. Because if I love a product, I will promote the crap out of it.
Yeah. And I suppose that's the key thing there, isn't it? It's the fact that you love these products, isn't it? So it's not that there's a financial gain off it. I mean, that's the kickback, but you are choosing authentically which products
Yeah.
and which brands that you love.
Like, I've been sent stuff and offered codes with other companies, but if I don't love them, I'm like, sorry, no amount of money is going to make
Yeah.
me like not be authentic to what I'm doing
Yeah.
and what I'm about. So I've just kind of said,
And integrity. I just wish everyone had that. We've just influenced, like it'd just make Insta world so much nicer.
yeah,
Exactly. Oh, that's good. Awesome. So I'm so glad that you've had some great highs.
yeah,
You're creating online courses. Are there more coming out this year? Like
yes, March 10th,
March 10?
Jared's birthday, actually.
Oh my gosh. I feel like this episode has to go up on March 10. Absolutely.
So March 10th, I did a cupcake piping course because obviously with COVID, I have gone and taught in Brisbane a few times because it's close to me.
Hmm.
But obviously, being a mum of four, my children are my priority. And it's not like I can up and leave and just travel Australia teaching willy nilly sort of thing. Like, I definitely do want to do it in the future, like more traveling and teaching. But I'll always do it around my children. So I was like, now that I've released the courses and my recipes are out there, I was like, the next natural step for me was to then release tutorials using the recipes. So I did a cupcake piping course, and it's basically what I would kind of do in person if I was teaching a cupcake piping course, but just online. So I said to the film crew, I was like, I do not want you to edit if I muck up stuff. I want it to be as authentic as if I was in the classroom, and like parts of it I'm giggling to myself and like talking to myself as I'm doing it. And I was like, I want them to feel like I'm in their house teaching them like I would if they'd paid and come to a class somewhere in person. So I did the cupcake piping course and also a template cake, which obviously then goes hand in hand with my templates and the recipes that I use to make my letter and number cake. So yeah, I've got 2 of those releasing on March 10th.
So today, when people listen to this episode, it'll be today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you are a businesswoman. Seriously. I just, quash those self-limiting beliefs.
Yes, I needed to. They weren't
You
serving
do.
very well.
Absolutely not. 2 more questions. First one, like, what's your advice to someone thinking about leaving a 9 to 5 to start their own business?
I think that a woman that is determined and has goals is literally unstoppable, and we can do anything we set our minds to. And my advice is to literally, if you are so passionate and so excited about something, you'll do everything in your power to make it work regardless. Like, you're definitely probably going to have ups and downs, but I don't know, I feel like women just have this unstoppable force that when they tap into what they really love and what they really want, like nothing can stop them.
Absolutely. And especially when we support each other, and you are one of those women, Cass, because I know just in that small little interaction that we had, last year for the More Than Love magazine, like that's then been there throughout to right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've been there in the DMs. And I'm sure if I needed some cupcake advice, I would come to you. I just feel that it's easier for me to buy them at this stage. I'm still not. I'm sitting here like
Right?
thinking.
You keep people like us in business.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I really should do a course. I wonder if I'll be able to create something like these gorgeous Instagram photos. Oh my gosh. I definitely will keep cake businesses in business, 100%.
Yes.
My kids are so very grateful for that. My favorite question to ask before I let you go is, can you tell me about a friend of yours that we need to know about?
Yes, Megan Steyer, and she actually is local here to Emerald. She sells amazing handmade wire head wraps, and her business Instagram is the Sweet Pea and Co. And she actually was a massive part in helping me get started. She helped me set up my very first website, which was just a big cartel one because I had zero idea when I started my templates. And she like literally set up the whole website for me and gave me the login and was like, here you go, it's ready to go. And she's always been a massive supporter of me and like always had massive belief that I could do what I wanted to do. So yeah, Megs is amazing, and she just made up those head wraps, and she's like got an amazing thriving business locally and as well as online. And yeah, and she's stepped into her own too because she was very shy, and I think because I was so present on my Instagram, I was able to kind of like encourage her to be more present so people could see the beautiful face behind the business.
Oh my God, you creative people make me sick. No, I just have none of this. I can't sew anything. Oh my gosh. You rock a wire head wrap so well, Cass. I'm looking at the Sweet Pea and Co Instagram, and
I know I like feature on their page a lot.
you rock one really well though, so why not? It's so good. So good. Well, it was amazing to speak with you. Thank you for sharing your story. If anyone wants, cake decorating inspiration, please jump over and have a look at Cass's Instagram, because it is just a gorgeous range of color palettes. Even I just love the colors that you put together. Wish I lived closer so that I could have one of those scrap little containers where you put all the scraps in, and my God, they look delicious. Yeah, it is such a good idea. I mean, I'd hate to think about the wastage of what's left over from cakes after you cut out a letter sometimes. So yeah, great way to reuse it. But yeah, looking forward to watching what this year brings for you, and thank you so much for being a guest.
It was honestly my pleasure. I was like so excited when you emailed and was like, I'd love to have you on. I was like, yes.
Brilliant, brilliant. I know people are going to love this. So thank you again, Cass.
Thank you.
Now, before you take off with all that inspiration and knowledge, we'd love for you to leave a review on our podcast so that we can continue to amplify women's voices in the media. And if you have any questions, we'd like to celebrate a win, you can always connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Oak Magazine AU. I'm so glad we've met and that now you know a friend of mine.